I have a prediction for you. Someone is going to be seriously injured, but I don't think it's Kevin or Carl. My theory? Ronnie or Tyrone takes the bullet. If it's Tyrone, it destroys Kevin. If it's Ronnie, it destroys Debbie. The long-term consequence will be the total breakup of the Webster/Dobbs partnership. I also predict that Carl will use the chaos to flee. But Fiona's 1-week deadline means he's now a walking dead man regardless of the shooting's outcome. Carl's future is hanging in the balance. But we know Jonathan Howard wants to stay for the dementia storyline. So Carl probably isn't dying today. This means he has to live with the guilt, or the lack of it. The psychological aftermath for Debbie is going to be heartbreaking. She is already struggling with dementia. Imagine her hearing a gunshot and reliving it as a nightmare. It's a cruel irony that as her mind fades, the reality around her is becoming a literal war zone. We need to talk about the deeper implications of Carl's bad boy status. He isn't just a villain for the sake of it. He is a mirror to the Webster's own history of mistakes. Kevin has had his fair share of affairs. But Carl's affair with Abby feels more predatory because it was built on a lie. Fiona represents the outside world that Coronation Street usually keeps at bay. When she hands Carl that gun, she is handing him the ultimate shortcut. Carl is a character who doesn't want to do the work. He didn't want to build a relationship with Kevin. He just wanted the status. This quick job Fiona offers is his last effort to save his ego. Tyrone is arguably the most tragic figure in this specific garage scene. He has looked up to Kevin as a father figure for decades. To be standing there, knowing he had Carl's sabotage, he's watching his relationship with Kevin burn in real time. The fear in Tyrone's eyes isn't just about the gun. It's about the loss of the only stable family he's ever had. His silence was a betrayal born of fear. But Kevin sees it as a betrayal of love. The wrench is a tool of creation and repair. The gun is a tool of destruction. By Kevin picking up the wrench to attack Carl, he is using the very tool that defines his life to try and end a life. It's a dark subversion of his character. Carl pulling the gun shows he has no tools. He only has weapons. He doesn't know how to fix anything. He only knows how to threaten. I think the reveal that Carl is Debbie's son was a risky move by the writers. I'm still not sure it's paid off. While it adds drama, it also makes the family tree so messy that it loses some of its emotional grounding. However, seeing how it has pushed Carl into this nothing-to-lose state makes for great television. I agree with the decision to make Carl a villain, but I disagree with how quickly they turned him into a potential killer. It feels like they skipped a few steps to get to the shock factor. This is a classic battle for the alpha spot in the garage. Kevin is the old guard. He's the man who knows every nut and bolt. Carl is the younger, more modern threat who uses criminal shortcuts. Kevin's anger is fueled by an insecurity that he's becoming obsolete. Carl's aggression is fueled by the insecurity that he's an imposter. When two men are fighting to prove they belong, things usually end in blood. While the garage is exploding, the rest of the street is also falling apart. We have Maria watching Gary and Sarah like a hawk. The parallel here is fascinating. While Kevin is dealing with a literal gun, Maria is dealing with a metaphorical one. The secret Gary and Sarah are keeping is just as lethal to their families as Carl's sabotage. Gary and Sarah's shifty behavior and the constant need to delete messages is a textbook example of how a lie becomes a full-time job. Maria's suspicion is totally justified, but Gary's attempt to appease his guilt with a surprise holiday is so transparent. It's the classic guilty husband move. Psychologically, Gary is trying to buy back the peace he sold when he got involved with Sarah's mess. The most innocent victim in all this is Sam. His breakdown, and the fact that he wants to see Roy Cropper shows that the younger generation is completely overwhelmed. Nick's anger toward Ben is a projection of his own helplessness. He can't fix Sam, so he looks for someone to blame. It's a heart-wrenching subplot that provides a much-needed emotional anchor to the thriller elements. Betsy's potential move to the London College of Fashion feels like a light-in-the-dark storyline, but even that is tinged with drama. Her hesitation to leave Dylan and the lack of support from Lisa shows that in Weatherfield, even good news is treated with suspicion. It's as if the characters are conditioned to expect the worst. They can't even celebrate a college offer. Is Carl the real villain? Or is it Fiona? Or maybe it's Bill and Debbie, whose 40-year lie created this monster in the first place. Carl is the product of a family that chooses lies over truth every single time. He was raised to believe Bill and Elaine were his parents to cover up a teenage pregnancy. That kind of psychological foundation is shaky at best. When the truth finally came out, it didn't set him free. It just gave him a reason to hate. Carl isn't just a bad boy.
He's a consequence.
I honestly think the garage might be broken for good after this. Can Kevin and Tyrone ever work together again? I don't think so. The trust is gone. I agree with the fans who think the soap is losing its balance by letting villains dominate so much. Sometimes we need the old Corey humor to cut through the gun smoke. Ronnie and Tyrone are now accomplices to a shooting, whether they like it or not. Their decision to stay silent about Carl's earlier crimes has led directly to this moment. They are experiencing choice paralysis. They wanted to protect Debbie, but they ended up endangering everyone. It's a perfect example of how good intentions usually lead to a disaster. The big shock at the end of the showdown is going to be the catalyst for the rest of the year. If the gun hit someone, we're looking at a murder trial. If it hit the wall, we're looking at a total psychological breakdown for all four men. Debbie Webster's dementia will be the key to Carl's eventual downfall or redemption. She is the only one he has any real emotional connection to. If he sees the terror his actions have caused her, especially her mistaking a balloon popping for a gunshot, that might be the only thing that cracks his villain exterior. But until then, he is a loose cannon with nothing but a week to live, according to Fiona. Do you think Kevin was right to try and take the gun? Or has his ego finally put everyone in a grave? And bigger question, can the Websters ever recover from the truth that Carl is Debbie's son? Is this the permanent end of their family unit? Let's take a second to talk about the physical reality of that garage scene. Imagine the smell of oil and the sound of the door locking. Ronnie thinks he's being helpful, but he's basically built a cage. When Carl pulls that gun, the sources tell us it's a knee-jerk reaction. He's not a professional hitman. He's a guy who is scared. Jonathan Howard actually said Carl pulls it just to keep Kevin at bay. But once a gun is out, you can't just put it back in the box, can you? Kevin's reaction is so typical for him. He's been the tough guy of the street for so long that he thinks he's immune to bullets. He actually calls Carl's bluff. He says it's fake. Now imagine being Tyrone in that moment. You've spent years working side by side with Kevin. You know his temper. You know his heart. And now you're watching him walk toward a loaded weapon. The betrayal Kevin feels when he realizes Tyrone knew about the brake tampering? That's going to hurt way longer than any physical wound. Think about the timing of all this too. Kevin is dealing with a reference letter. He tells Carl he's not going to give him one. It seems like a small thing, right? But for Carl, that's the final door closing. He's being pushed out of the legit world. That's why he takes the call from Fiona. He needs a buffer for his new life. But as we know, with Carl, nothing ever goes to plan. The gun comes in a package. It's meant to be a quick job. But it turns into a lifetime of regret in a matter of seconds. The sources say that during the struggle between Kevin and Ronnie, the gun suddenly fires. Everyone is stunned. The shockwaves go through the entire garage. This is the moment where the show changes. You can't go back to fixing fan belts and changing oil after a shot has been fired. It changes the atmosphere of the entire set. And what about Debbie? She's the one who's been carrying this secret for 40 years. She's the one who let Kevin believe Carl was his brother. Now, she's having nightmares about the garage. She's reliving the horror. When that balloon pops at the gender reveal party, she thinks it's a gunshot. That is so telling of her mental state. The trauma of Carl's actions is accelerating her illness. It's a tragedy on top of a tragedy. I also want to look at the Gary and Sarah situation again. Maria is watching them hug. She hears Gary say they have to delete their messages. If you were Maria, wouldn't you think the worst? She's been through so much with Gary. She knows he's capable of secrets. But the funny thing is, the secret he's keeping might be even worse than an affair. It's linked to a murder investigation. The shifty behavior is a classic soap trope, but it works because we care about Maria. We don't want to see her heartbroken again. Gary booking a surprise holiday? It's so transparent. It's the guilt trip in a literal sense. Let's not forget about Sam either. He's at the hospital. Nick is lashing out at everyone. He's blaming Ben for not spotting the crimes earlier. It's a mess. But then Sam asks to see Roy Cropper. That is such a beautiful touch. Roy is the moral center of the show. If Sam can find peace with Roy, maybe there's hope for the rest of them. But in the garage, hope feels very far away. We also have Betsy. She's got this amazing offer from the fashion college in London. She's worried about Dylan. She's worried about her mom. It's a reminder that life goes on outside of the Webster drama. But how can she leave when the street is in such chaos? Carla is happy for her, but Lisa is hesitant. It's that classic Corey conflict between wanting more for your kids and wanting to keep them safe. Back to Kevin and Carl. The sources mention that Carl's future is hanging in the balance. This is a phrase soaps love to use. It usually means a character is either going to prison or the hospital. Given that Carl has to stick around for Debbie's story, I'm betting on a not guilty by reason of circumstance or a long recovery. But Kevin? If Kevin is the one who gets hit, it would be the biggest exit since forever. Michael Lavelle has been there for over 40 years. Could they really kill off Kevin Webster? It feels impossible. But the exit's sealed. Headlines are everywhere. It keeps us on the edge of our seats, doesn't it? That's the magic of a good spoiler. It makes you question everything you know about the show's invincible characters. The psychological layer here is really about legacy. Kevin wants to protect the Webster name. Carl wants to claim it or destroy it. When Carl pulls that gun, he's rejecting the family. He's saying, I'm not one of you. And when Kevin grabs it, he's saying, you don't belong here. It's a fight for the soul of the Websters. And the big shock is that there might not be a soul left to save. Ronnie trying to bury the hatchet for Debbie's sake is a nice thought, but you can't bury a hatchet when someone is pointing a gun at you. It's too late for peace. The escalation has gone too far. We're also seeing a lot of choice paralysis from the other characters. Tyrone and Ronnie didn't tell Kevin because they didn't want to hurt him. But by staying silent, they allowed the danger to grow. It's a classic lesson in how secrets always come out, and they usually come out with a bang. Literally. The gunshot is the sound of the truth finally breaking through the lies. And it's a sound that's going to echo for a long time. I also want to mention the real-life aspect of the show. Jack P. Shepard getting a hair transplant and showing it off on his podcast? It's a reminder that these actors are real people with their own lives. It's funny to think about David Platt having a shaved head while all this drama is going on. It adds a bit of meta humor to the whole thing. But on screen, there's no room for humor. It's just raw, unfiltered drama. The villain's dominating opinion is a common one among fans. Sometimes it feels like the bad guys have all the power. But in this case, Carl's power is very fragile. He's being threatened by Fiona. He's being confronted by Kevin. He's losing his mind. He's not a mastermind. He's a mess. And that's what makes him so dangerous. A mastermind has a plan. A mess just has a knee-jerk reaction. So where do we go from here? The aftermath of the shooting is going to be the main focus for weeks. We'll see the police investigation. We'll see the hospital scenes. We'll see the fallout between Kevin and Tyrone. It's a total reboot for the Webster family. And honestly, they probably needed it. They've been stuck in a cycle for a while. This is the shock to the system that will drive the story into 2027. Debbie's dementia is the ticking clock. Carl's guilt is the engine. And Kevin's survival is the question mark. It's high-stakes television at its best. I really want to know what you think about Carl. Is he redeemable? Or has he gone too far? And what about Kevin? Is he the hero here? Or is he just as much to blame for the escalation? Let's have a debate in the comments. I'm seeing a lot of people saying Kevin is a legend and can't be touched. But legends fall all the time. Just look at the history of the cobbles. No one is truly safe. And that's what keeps us coming back week after week, isn't it? The feeling that anything can happen. A wrench can become a weapon. A garage can become a cage. And a nephew can become a killer. It's a wild ride. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Webster feud and want to stay updated on all the high-stakes drama hitting Weatherfield, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if you think Kevin needs to watch his back. And definitely drop a comment below with your theories on who took that bullet. I read all of them, and I love seeing what you guys come up with. Some of your theories are even better than the actual spoilers. See you in the next one, where we'll be talking about Gary's surprise holiday and whether Maria finally gets the proof she's looking for.
Don't miss it.
Kevin's decision to grab the gun was a split-second, impulsive reaction driven by extreme seething anger and a profound sense of betrayal. He was already in a raging state after discovering footage of Carl sabotaging his car brakes, an act he interpreted as a direct attempt on his life. His anger was further compounded by the gut punch of learning that his closest allies, Tyrone and Ronnie, had known about Carl's criminal behavior and deliberately kept him in the dark. A central factor in Kevin's reasoning was his firm belief that the gun was fake, leading him to treat the situation with a level of defiance that could be viewed as either incredibly brave or dangerously reckless. Rather than de-escalating, he grabbed the weapon from Carl and pointed it directly back at him, which horrified Ronnie. This move ultimately proved disastrous, as it led to a physical struggle with Ronnie over the firearm, during which the weapon suddenly discharged. While Kevin may have felt right in defending his sanctuary and confronting his attacker, his refusal to believe the weapon was genuine directly contributed to the big shock of the gun firing, potentially causing serious injury to anyone in the room. From a psychological perspective, Kevin's hero persona or ego may have blinded him to the actual danger, as he could not conceive of someone in his world actually pulling a trigger on him. Ultimately, while his anger was justified, the sources suggest his actions turned a terrifying standoff into a life-or-death tragedy. The recovery of the Webster family looks incredibly bleak because Carl's betrayal isn't just one mistake. It is a multi-layered collapse of trust that has been building for 40 years. To understand if they can ever move past this, you have to look at the sheer scale of the damage across the entire family unit. First, there is the destruction of the brotherly bond Kevin thought he had. For decades, Kevin believed Carl was his half-brother, only to discover through a major retcon that Carl is actually his nephew, the secret son Debbie gave up in Germany. This foundation of lies makes the subsequent betrayals feel even more predatory. Carl didn't just have an affair with Kevin's wife, Abby. He actively tried to kill Kevin by tampering with his car brakes. This wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment argument. It was a calculating and silent attempt on Kevin's life within the sanctuary of his own garage. The betrayal also extends to Kevin's surrogate family, Tyrone and Ronnie. Kevin is incandescent to learn that they both knew about Carl's crimes and kept it from him. This gut punch realization means the people Kevin trusted most were complicit in protecting his potential killer. The shooting in the garage, which occurred during a desperate struggle for the weapon, has left the family in a state of total panic and shockwaves, suggesting that the physical and emotional scars will define their relationships for years to come. However, there is a small window for a twisted form of recovery centered around Debbie. Despite Carl burning bridges left, right, and center, he has expressed a desire to stay and face the reality of Debbie's dementia diagnosis. Debbie is already suffering from horrible nightmares and terror following the garage incident, even mistaking a popping balloon for a gunshot. If Carl truly seeks redemption, it would likely come through supporting the mother who lied to him for 40 years as her mind fails. Ultimately, while the sources suggest Carl's future is hanging in the balance, the Webster family, as we knew it, is likely gone. Even if they survive the legal and physical aftermath of the shooting, the sting of betrayal from Tyrone and the lifelong deception from Debbie may be too deep to ever truly heal.